The church was small, the kind with wooden pews worn smooth by generations of faithful hands, and candles that flickered more from drafts than devotion. St. Michael's Community Church, tucked in a neighborhood where CEOs didn't typically spend their Christmas Eves. But Catherine Wells, 60 years old, worth $4.2 billion, CEO of Wells Global Enterprises, wasn't there by choice. She was there by accident, driving home from a late board meeting when her car broke down 2 blocks away. And while she waited for her driver to arrive with a replacement, she'd heard something. Singing. A child's voice, pure and clear, carrying through the cold December air. Silent night. The kind of voice that made you stop, made you listen, made you remember that once, a very long time ago, you'd believed in things like wonder and grace. Catherine found herself walking toward the sound, through the church doors, into the warmth and candlelight of a Christmas Eve service already in progress. The children's choir stood at the front, 12 kids in red robes holding candles, faces glowing, and in the center, singing a solo that made the air itself seem to hold its breath. A girl, maybe 9 years old, dark hair falling past her shoulders, dark eyes, olive skin, wearing a red dress under her choir robe, and a face. Catherine's breath stopped. The face was impossible. It couldn't exist, because it belonged to someone who'd been dead for 10 years. Sarah, her daughter, her only child. Sarah, who died at 25. Sarah, whose face Catherine saw every time she closed her eyes and every time she opened them. Sarah, who... But this wasn't Sarah. This was a child who looked exactly like Sarah had looked at 9 years old. The same eyes, the same smile, the same way of tilting her head when she held a high note. Catherine's hands gripped the back of the pew in front of her, her vision blurred. This wasn't possible. This was grief playing tricks. This was... The song ended. The congregation applauded. The children filed down from the altar, and Catherine watched the girl, watched her run to someone sitting 3 rows ahead. A man, mid-30s, wearing a yellow sweater that had been washed so many times the color had faded. He opened his arms, and the girl launched herself into them, and he held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Catherine moved without thinking, walked down the aisle as the service continued, stopped beside the man and the girl. "Excuse me," Catherine said. Her voice came out wrong, shaking. "That little girl, who is she?" The man looked up, and when his eyes met Catherine's, his face went absolutely white. He knew her, he recognized her, and he was terrified. "We need to go," he said to the girl, standing abruptly. "Now, Aurora, we're leaving." "But Daddy, the service isn't—" "Now," he repeated. He grabbed the girl's hand and tried to move past Catherine. Catherine blocked his path. "Wait, please, I need to know. She looks exactly like—" Her voice broke. "She looks exactly like my daughter who died, and I need to know why." The man's jaw clenched. "You need to leave us alone." "Her name, just tell me her name." The girl, Aurora, looked between them, confused and frightened. "Daddy, what's wrong? Who is this lady?" The man looked at Catherine, and in his eyes she saw something that made her blood run cold. Not just recognition, but rage, old rage, the kind that had been burning for years. "You want to know who she is?" he said quietly. "Fine. Aurora, this is Catherine Wells, your grandmother, the woman who threw your mother away like garbage, the woman who's the reason you never got to meet her." The words hit like a physical blow. Grandmother. Catherine's knees buckled. She sat down hard on the pew. That's not possible. Sarah she couldn't have. "Sarah had a daughter," the man said. His voice was flat, cold. 9 years ago, and then she died, alone in a hospital, because you told her she was destroying her life, because you said I was nothing, because you made her choose between you and us, and she chose us, and it killed her. Aurora was crying now. "Daddy, I don't understand. What's happening?" "We're leaving," the man said again. He picked Aurora up, too big to be carried, really, but he did it anyway, and walked past Catherine. And Catherine sat in the pew in a church she'd never meant to enter while her entire world collapsed around her. She had a granddaughter. For 9 years she'd had a granddaughter, and she'd never known. Subscribe to Becca's Stories for powerful daily narratives about the families we destroy, the children we never meet, and the Christmas Eve miracles that force us to face what we've done. Catherine followed them outside. Couldn't not follow. Couldn't let them disappear. The man, she still didn't know his name, was putting Aurora into an old Honda that had seen better days, probably better decades. "Please," Catherine called, "please, I need to understand. I need—" "You need?" The man whirled on her. "You need? What about what Sarah needed? What about what Aurora's needed for 9 years? You don't get to need things from us." "I didn't know," Catherine said desperately. "I swear I didn't know Sarah was pregnant. She never told me." "She tried to tell you," the man interrupted. "She called you 3 times. Your assistant told her you were too busy, that you'd said not to disturb you about her anymore. So she stopped calling, and 6 months later she gave birth, and 4 hours after that she was dead." The ground tilted. "No, my assistant would have told me. Your assistant told you what you wanted to hear, that Sarah had come to her senses and stopped the dramatics. Those were your words, weren't they? When Sarah told you she was in love with me, when she told you she was happy, you said she was being dramatic, that she'd come to her senses eventually." Catherine remembered. God help her, she remembered. 2 years of fighting with Sarah. 2 years of Sarah insisting she loved this man, this nobody with no degree, no prospects, just a construction job and dreams of maybe starting his own business someday. 2 years of Catherine trying to make Sarah see reason, see that she was throwing away her potential, her Stanford education, her future. And then Sarah had stopped calling. And Catherine she'd thought Sarah had finally seen sense, had broken up with the nobody, had come back to reality. She'd never imagined. "Who are you? What's your name?" "Marcus," he said. "Marcus Reyes. I'm Aurora's father, the man you called nothing, the man you said wasn't worth Sarah's time, the man who spent the last 9 years raising our daughter alone, because your daughter is dead because of you." The accusation hung in the cold air. "I didn't," Catherine started. "You told her to abort," Marcus continued relentlessly. 6 months pregnant, and you told her to fix the mistake. Those were your exact words. Fix the mistake. You called Aurora, called the idea of Aurora, a mistake. And Sarah hung up crying, and I found her in our apartment, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. And I held her, and I promised her that we were enough, that you didn't matter, that we'd build our own family. And for 3 months we did. We were happy. And then," his voice broke, "and then she went into labor, and there were complications, hemorrhaging. And the doctors tried. They tried everything, but she'd lost too much blood. And I was there, holding her hand. And Aurora was there, crying in the nursery. And Sarah's last words," he looked at Catherine with absolute hatred. "Her last words were, 'Tell my mother I tried. Tell her I'm sorry I wasn't enough.' And then she died. And you didn't even know. You didn't come to the funeral. You didn't check on her. You just erased her because she didn't do what you wanted." Catherine was crying now, full, gasping sobs. "I didn't know. God, Marcus, I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't know about the complications. My assistant told me. She told me Sarah had moved away, that she'd said not to contact her anymore. I thought Sarah had got me out of her life. I didn't know she'd tried to reach me. I didn't know she died. I didn't—" "Daddy?" Aurora's voice came from the car, small, scared. "Daddy, is that lady really my grandma? Did I Did I have a mommy? And she was that lady's little girl? Marcus's face crumpled. He opened the car door, knelt beside Aurora. Yeah, baby, that's your grandma, your mommy's mommy. I should have told you. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to hurt. I didn't want you to know that we... He couldn't finish. Aurora looked past Marcus to Catherine. Did you love my mommy? Yes, Catherine whispered. More than anything. I loved her so much. I made mistakes. I said things I shouldn't have said. I pushed her away when I should have held on. And Her voice broke. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. For your mommy. For you. I'm so sorry. Aurora studied her for a long moment. Then, Daddy says Mommy's in heaven, watching over us. Do you think she's watching right now? I hope so, Catherine managed. I hope she sees how beautiful you are, how much you look like her, how lucky you are to have your daddy who loves you so much. Can I hug you? Is that okay? I never had a grandma before. And you look sad, and Daddy says sad people need hugs. Catherine looked at Marcus. He looked torn, protective and angry and grieving all at once. Finally, slowly, he nodded. Aurora climbed out of the car, walked to Catherine, and wrapped her small arms around Catherine's waist. And Catherine, who'd spent 9 years not knowing she had a granddaughter, who'd spent 10 years not knowing her daughter had died, broke apart completely. Catherine hired the investigator 3 days after Christmas. Not because she didn't believe Marcus, she did, with a certainty that hurt, but because she needed to understand, needed to see the full scope of what she'd done. The report arrived 1 week later. Catherine read it alone in her office at midnight. Sarah Wells, deceased. Date of death, January 15, 2015. Cause, postpartum hemorrhage, complications from childbirth. Hospital, County General, Public Hospital, no insurance. Next of kin notified, Marcus Reyes, father of child. Attempts to contact Catherine Wells, 3 phone calls, blocked by assistant. 1 hospital call during labor, assistant declined to forward. 1 emergency contact listing, ignored. Catherine's hands shook. She flipped to the next page. Phone records, Sarah Wells to Catherine Wells. October 12, 2014, 11:47 p.m. Duration, 0. Blocked. October 19, 2014, 2:33 p.m. Duration, 0. Blocked. November 3, 2014, 9:15 a.m. Duration, 0. Blocked. January 15, 2015, 4:22 a.m. Hospital phone. Duration, 0. Assistant note. Told hospital Miss Wells does not wish to be contacted regarding Sarah. Catherine's hands shook. She'd had an assistant then, Miranda Chen, efficient and cold and absolutely loyal, who'd taken Catherine's anger at Sarah and interpreted it as permission to cut Sarah out completely, who'd blocked every call, who turned away the hospital when Sarah was dying. Catherine had fired Miranda years ago for unrelated reasons, but the damage was done, irrevocable. She kept reading. Marcus Antonio Reyes, age 35. Employment history last 10 years. Reyes Construction, owner-operator, 2015 to 2019. Failed due to recession. Bankruptcy filed 2019. Martinez Construction, day laborer, 2019 to present. Uber driver, nights, weekends, 2017 to present. Sullivan Commercial Cleaning, weekend janitorial, 2020 to present. Current income, $43,000 a year, combined 3 jobs. Housing, studio apartment, $950 a month. Debt, $67,000. Medical bills from Sarah's delivery, Aurora's childhood illnesses, bankruptcy. Custody, sole legal and physical custody of Aurora Sarah Reyes. Child support received, 0.
No other parent or family assistance. Notes: subject works average 75 hours a week. Aurora attends public school. Maintained honor roll since kindergarten. Active in church choir. Subject has no criminal record, no CPS reports, no concerns flagged. By all accounts, exemplary single father under difficult financial circumstances. Catherine read that paragraph 5 times. Marcus worked 75 hours a week, 3 jobs, raising Aurora alone, and Aurora was thriving. Honor roll, church choir, happy. The investigator had included photos, Aurora's school records, birthday party pictures, small gatherings in the apartment, homemade cake, Marcus wearing a party hat and smiling while Aurora blew out candles. Report cards with teacher comments. Aurora is a joy to have in class. Aurora's father is always involved and supportive. Aurora is kind, intelligent, and works hard. And pictures of Marcus at Aurora's school events, at church, at the grocery store with Aurora riding in the cart, always smiling at her, always present. He'd given Aurora everything Catherine had money for and more. He'd given her love, stability, presence, the things Catherine had failed to give Sarah. The final page of the report was a copy of Sarah's death certificate, and attached to it a note from the investigator. Miss Wells, I found this in the hospital archives. It was in Sarah's belongings, sealed and marked for my mother. The hospital kept it in case you ever came to claim her effects. You never did. I'm sorry to be the one to give this to you now. An envelope, addressed to Catherine in Sarah's handwriting. Catherine opened it with shaking hands.
Mom, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. The doctors say I'll be fine, but I'm scared. I'm so scared. And I need you to know some things. I love Marcus. I've always loved him. He's good and kind, and he works so hard. He's going to be an amazing father. And I know you think I'm throwing my life away, but Mom, I'm not. I'm building a life, a real one, with love, with family, with meaning. I'm sorry I'm not the daughter you wanted. I'm sorry I didn't marry rich or become a CEO or make you proud the way you hoped. But I'm proud of me. I'm proud of choosing love. I'm proud of this baby, and I hope, God, I hope someday you understand, that you see Aurora and you realize she's not a mistake. She's everything. She's life and hope and second chances. She's beautiful, like you were before the company took over, before success became more important than happiness. I forgive you, Mom, for the things you said, for pushing me away. I forgive you because I have to, because holding on to anger while I'm about to become a mother would poison everything good in my life. So I forgive you. And I hope you'll forgive me too, for not being enough. If something happens to me, please take care of Marcus and Aurora. Don't let your pride keep you from knowing your granddaughter. She's going to be amazing, just like you, just like me, all the best parts of both of us. I love you. I've always loved you, even when you made it hard. Your daughter, Sarah. Catherine read the letter 17 times, and then she called Marcus. Marcus answered on the 5th ring. It's midnight. What do you want? I found a letter, Catherine said, from Sarah, from the hospital. She forgave me before she died. She forgave me for everything. Silence on the other end. She also asked me to take care of you and Aurora, Catherine continued, and I haven't. For 9 years, I haven't, but I want to. Please, let me help. Let me be part of Aurora's life. I know I don't deserve it, but Sarah wanted it, and her voice broke. I can't bring her back, but I can honor what she wanted, if you let me. Honor what she wanted, Marcus repeated. His voice was hollow. You want to know what would honor Sarah? You staying away. You letting Aurora live without knowing that her grandmother threw her mother away. That's what would honor Sarah. Aurora already knows, Catherine pointed out gently. She was there, in the parking lot. She heard everything. And now she has questions I don't know how to answer, Marcus said. She wants to know why you didn't want her mommy, why you thought we were a mistake. How do I explain that to a 9-year-old? How do I make her understand that she was never— I was wrong, Catherine interrupted, about everything. About you being nothing, about Sarah throwing her life away, about Aurora being a mistake. She took a breath. I was terrified. Sarah was my only child, my only family, and I thought if she married poor, if she had a baby young, she'd struggle, she'd suffer, she'd regret it. And I wanted better for her, but what I wanted, what I thought was better, that wasn't love, that was control, and it killed her. Yeah, it did. Let me make it right, Catherine begged. Not with money, not with control. Just let me know her. Let me be her grandmother the way Sarah wanted, please. You have $4 billion. I have a studio apartment and 3 jobs. If you wanted to, you could take her from me. You could file for custody, argue I can't provide adequately, win because you have infinite resources and I have nothing. So tell me, Catherine, why should I trust you? Why should I believe you won't try to take her away the second I let you in? Catherine thought about this, about what she would have done 10 years ago, about what Sarah had feared, about what Marcus had every right to assume. Because Sarah's letter asked me not to, and because I've spent 10 years being the woman who destroyed her own family, and I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to be the grandmother Aurora deserves, not the one who takes over, the one who shows up, who supports, who loves without conditions. Her voice cracked, I want to be the mother I should have been to Sarah. Can I try, please? Can I just try? Marcus was quiet for so long Catherine thought he'd hung up. Then, Sunday dinner, my apartment, 6 p.m. You bring dessert, nothing fancy, just grocery store cake, and you meet Aurora properly. And if she wants you there, you can stay. If she doesn't, you leave and you don't push. Deal? Deal, Catherine whispered. Thank you, Marcus. Don't thank me yet. Aurora's 9. She's smart. She'll see through bullshit faster than any adult I know. So if you're not serious about this, if you're just here because you feel guilty, she'll know, and I'll ask you to leave. Understood? Understood. She showed up Sunday with a grocery store cake, chocolate with vanilla frosting. Nothing fancy, nothing that screamed billionaire trying too hard. Aurora answered the door. She was wearing jeans and a red sweater. No makeup, no fancy clothes, just a 9-year-old who'd spent the afternoon doing homework and watching cartoons with her dad. Hi, you're early. I'm sorry, I can wait outside? No, come in. Aurora held the door open. Daddy's making spaghetti. He's not very good at it, but he tries hard. That's what matters. The apartment was tiny. One room that served as bedroom and living room and office. A kitchenette barely big enough for one person. A bathroom Catherine could see from the doorway. Clean, organized, but impossibly small for 2 people to live in. Marcus was at the stove stirring pasta. He looked exhausted, like someone who'd worked 75 hours that week and would work 75 more the next. Catherine, you came. I said I would. People say lots of things. Following through is different. Aurora set the table. 3 places, mismatched plates, forks that didn't quite match either, but carefully arranged, lovingly placed. They ate spaghetti that was, as promised, not very good. Marcus had overcooked the noodles and underseasoned the sauce, but Aurora ate enthusiastically, talking about school and choir and her friend Mia, who's teaching her to play piano. And Catherine listened, really listened. For the first time in maybe her entire life, she listened without planning her response, without thinking about business, without measuring success or failure. She just listened to her granddaughter talk about her life. After dinner, while Marcus washed dishes, Aurora showed Catherine her room, a corner of the studio separated by a curtain, a twin bed, a small bookshelf, drawings taped to the wall, school awards, a photo of a woman Catherine recognized with a jolt, Sarah, young, pregnant, smiling. That's my mommy. Daddy says she was beautiful and smart, and she sang like an angel. I'm trying to be like her. That's why I practice so much, so when I sing, she can hear me in heaven and know I'm making her proud. Catherine's throat closed. She would be so proud of you. You're exactly what she hoped you'd be. Did you love her, really love her, or just wish she was different?
The question was devastating in its accuracy. I loved who I thought she should be,
Catherine admitted. And I spent so much time trying to change her into that person that I forgot to love who she actually was. And by the time I realized, by the time I understood, it was too late. She was gone. And she looked at Aurora. I don't want to make that mistake with you. I want to love who you are, right now, exactly as you are, if you'll let me. Aurora studied her. Daddy says you're really rich, that you could buy me anything I wanted. I could, Catherine agreed. I don't want things, Aurora said. I have things. Daddy makes sure I have what I need. What I want is... She hesitated. Can you just come to dinner sometimes? And maybe come to my choir concerts and not try to change us? Because we're happy, me and Daddy. We don't have a lot, but we're happy. And I don't want you to make us unhappy. I won't, Catherine promised. I'll just show up and love you, both of you. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay.
For 3 months, Catherine came to Sunday dinner. Brought dessert, always grocery store, never fancy, sat at the tiny table, learned Aurora's favorite subjects, science and English, learned Marcus's schedule, brutal but manageable, learned how to be present without controlling. And then Aurora asked the question that terrified Marcus. Grandma, why don't you help Daddy? You have lots of money, and he works so hard all the time. He's always tired. Can't you make it easier? Marcus's face went white. Aurora, we don't ask people for money. I'm not asking for me, Aurora interrupted. I'm asking for you. You never sleep enough. You're always worried about bills. And Grandma has money she's not even using. Why can't she help? Catherine looked at Marcus, saw the fear in his eyes, the certainty that this was it. This was where she'd overstepped, where she'd use her resources to take over, to prove he wasn't enough. Because your daddy hasn't asked me to, Catherine said gently, and I'm not going to force help on someone who doesn't want it. That's what I did with your mommy. I tried to control her life because I thought I knew better, and I was wrong. So now I wait until I'm asked, and if I'm never asked, that's okay too. Being here is enough. But, Aurora looked distressed, but Daddy's tired, and you could help, and that's what families do, right? They help each other? Families also respect boundaries, Catherine said, and trust each other to ask when they need something. Your daddy is the best father I've ever seen. He's been taking care of you, doing an incredible job for 9 years without help. If he wants my help, he'll ask, and until then, I'm going to trust that he knows what he's doing. Marcus looked at her with something like shock. You're really not going to push? I'm really not going to push, Catherine confirmed. Even though you could probably convince a court that Aurora would have more stability with your resources. I could probably convince a court of a lot of things, Catherine said, but I'm not going to, because Sarah asked me to take care of you, both of you, and taking Aurora away from you wouldn't be taking care of anyone. It would be destroying the family Sarah built, and I've destroyed enough. Marcus's voice cracked. I didn't expect that. What did you expect? Catherine asked. I expected you to try to take her, Marcus admitted, to decide I wasn't good enough, to use your money and power to prove you could provide better. I've been waiting for it for 3 months, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The other shoe isn't dropping, Catherine said. I'm just a grandmother who shows up for Sunday dinner and loves her granddaughter, and respects her father. That's all I want to be. But 3 weeks later, Marcus called her. It was 2 a.m. Catherine answered immediately. Aurora's in the hospital, Marcus said. His voice was shaking. Appendicitis. They did emergency surgery. She's okay, but the bills. I don't have insurance that covers this. Catherine, I can't afford this. I've been doing math for the last hour, and I can't make it work, and He broke down crying. I'll take care of it, Catherine said immediately. The bills, all of them. And don't argue, please. This isn't control. This is what grandmothers do when their grandchildren are hurt. They help, okay? Okay, Marcus whispered. Thank you. God, thank you. Catherine paid the hospital bills,
$47,000. Didn't blink. And then she did something else. She called Marcus a week later. "I want to propose something, and you can say no, but I want to pay off your debts, all of them. The medical bills from Sarah's delivery, the bankruptcy, everything. Not because you asked, but because Sarah would have wanted you to be free of that weight. And because I can. And it won't change my life at all, but it would change yours. Will you let me?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. "Why?" "Because you raised my granddaughter alone for 9 years. Because you worked 75 hours a week to give her everything. Because you loved my daughter when I pushed her away. Because you deserve to breathe. And because," her voice softened, "because I'm learning that love isn't about control. It's about freedom. And I want to give you the freedom to be Aurora's father without drowning in debt that was never your fault." "I don't know how to accept that," Marcus admitted. "Just say yes," Catherine suggested. "It's easier than you think." "Yes," Marcus whispered. "Thank you. Yes."
Catherine paid off Marcus's debts, $67,000. And then she did something else. She helped him get back into school. Part-time, engineering degree, the thing he'd wanted to do before Sarah got pregnant, before life happened, before he had to choose between dreams and responsibility. "I'm not paying for it as charity," Catherine explained. "I'm paying for it as investment, in someone who's already proved he can achieve anything, who just needs the chance." Marcus finished his degree in 3 years, got a job as a project engineer, still worked hard, but 40 hours a week instead of 75. Made enough to move Aurora to a 2-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy, but Aurora had her own room, and Marcus had a bed instead of a couch. And Catherine? Catherine came to Sunday dinner every week, came to Aurora's choir concerts, came to parent-teacher conferences. Slowly, carefully became the grandmother Sarah had hoped she could be. 1 year after Marcus finished his degree, Catherine stood at another Christmas Eve service at St. Michael's Church. Aurora, now 12, was singing the same solo she'd sung 3 years ago, Silent Night. But this time, Catherine sat next to Marcus, not as adversaries, not as people navigating guilt and forgiveness, but as family. After the service, in the parking lot, where everything had once fallen apart, the 3 of them stood together. "Mommy would have liked this," Aurora said, "us being together, don't you think?" "Yeah," Marcus said softly. "I think she would have." "I think," Catherine's voice caught, "I think she's proud of all of us for finding our way back to each other." "Do you think she forgave you? Really forgave you? For the things you said?" Catherine thought about Sarah's letter, about the words written in a hospital room while Sarah was terrified she might die. "I forgive you, Mom." "Yes," Catherine said, "I think she did. And I'm learning to forgive myself too, which is harder, but I'm trying, for her, for you, for all of us." "Good," Aurora said. Then, with the blunt honesty of 12-year-olds, "because you're my only grandma, and I kind of want to keep you." Catherine laughed, the sound cracking with emotion. "I kind of want to keep you, too." They lit candles together. 3 candles for 3 people who'd found each other in impossible circumstances, who'd built a family not from blood alone, but from choice, from forgiveness, from the courage to be better than they'd been. And somewhere, Catherine thought, Sarah was watching, finally at peace, finally believing that the people she loved most had found their way to loving each other. Aurora stood at the podium in St. Michael's Church, not for Christmas Eve this time, but for something else. The church had created a scholarship, the Sarah Wells Memorial Scholarship for single parents pursuing higher education, funded by Catherine's foundation, administered by Marcus, who knew better than anyone what single parents needed. 10 scholarships a year, full tuition, books, childcare stipends, everything that would have made Marcus's life easier, everything that would help other parents give their children what Marcus had given Aurora.
My mom died when I was born, Aurora said to the congregation, people she'd known her whole life, people who'd watched her grow up. And for a long time, I thought that was the saddest part of my story, that I never got to meet her, that she never got to see me sing. But then I learned something. My story isn't about who I lost, it's about who stayed. My dad, who worked 3 jobs to give me everything. My grandmother, who came back after years of being gone and learned how to love without controlling. And my mom, who I never met but who's in every choice they make, every sacrifice they've given, every moment of love they've shared. Catherine sat in the front pew crying, Marcus beside her holding her hand. This scholarship is for people like my dad, people who are doing the impossible, raising kids alone, working too hard, dreaming of better but not knowing how to get there. My grandmother is giving them a chance, and my dad is making sure that chance actually helps, because they both learned something my mom knew all along. Family isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up. It's about forgiving. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. After the ceremony, they took a photo, the 3 of them, in front of the church where everything had changed. Aurora in the middle, wearing her red choir robe, Marcus on one side in his yellow sweater, the same one from 3 years ago, still his favorite, Catherine on the other in her white coat, finally understanding that wealth meant nothing compared to this. "Grandma," Aurora said as they walked to the car, "can I ask you something?" "Always," Catherine said. Do you think if Mommy hadn't died, we would have found each other anyway, eventually?" Catherine thought about this, about the woman she'd been 10 years ago, controlling, rigid, certain she knew best. Would that woman have ever changed, ever admitted she was wrong? "I don't know," Catherine admitted. "I'd like to think yes, but honestly, I don't know if I would have been brave enough to change unless I'd lost everything first. Sometimes we have to break completely before we can rebuild into something better." "That's sad," Aurora observed. "It is," Catherine agreed. "But it's also hopeful, because it means we can always change. We can always choose differently. As long as we're alive, we get second chances and third chances and as many chances as we're willing to take." "I'm glad you took your chance," Aurora said. "I'm glad you came to church that night. I'm glad you didn't stay gone." Me too, sweetheart." They drove home, to Marcus's apartment, where Sunday dinner waited, where they'd eat pasta that was still slightly overcooked and dessert that came from a grocery store, where they'd talk about Aurora's week and Marcus's projects and Catherine's foundation, where they'd be a family. Imperfect, complicated, built from tragedy and choice and the courage to forgive the unforgivable, but family nonetheless. And somewhere, Catherine knew, Sarah was smiling.
If this story touched your soul, you've experienced the power of Becca's stories. Subscribe for powerful daily narratives about the daughters we lose, the granddaughters we never knew we had, the single fathers who sacrifice everything, and the Christmas Eve moments that force us to face what we've destroyed and choose to rebuild it with love. Comment below. What family relationship would you rebuild if you had the courage? What forgiveness are you still learning to accept? Our mission is to inspire your life and brighten your day through powerful narratives of transformation and human resilience.